Hi, welcome to day 3 of our Python Everyday tutorial. In this video, we learn everything about creating and using variables in Python. Similar to other programming languages, we use variables as containers for storing data values. In a programming language like Swift, variables need to be defined with a keyword. For example, using var and let. In JavaScript, for instance, there is also the const keyword. But in Python, we don't have such keywords. For example, if we want to create a variable to represent a coordinate of a graph, we can say a equals 5, then b is equal 10. We can also create another variable to add these two values. Since they have the same type, they are all integers, so we can assign the values of a and b to c. To show the output of a, b, and c, we can use a print statement. So we can say we want to print c. We can also print the individual values of a and b. We are using VS Code for this tutorial, so to run the Python file, we can press Ctrl and backtick to bring the integrated terminal. I am using Mac, so I'll run it with Python 3 followed by the file name. So you can see over here, we have the output to be 15. That is the value of C. Next, let's go to custom. We can use custom to specify a data type. So in our previous example, we created A and B and also created another variable to add a and b. We didn't define the data types. We can definitely see they are all integers. In Python, we can use some preserved keywords to define the data types. For example, over here, we have a as an integer, but once we bring it here, we can specify it as a string using the str keyword. Now the value of a will be a string instead. We can also do the same thing for int and also float, as you see over here. So in this case, b will be an integer and the value of c will be a floating point value, that is 5.0 instead of 5, which is an integer. If you want to know the type of a variable, we can use the type keyword. For example, if we want to know the type of a, we can use a print statement and pass the type keyword. Let's run it again to see what we have. You can see over here, we now have a as a string because initially we defined it as an integer. Then we use the str keyword to convert it to a string. We can also check the type of b as well. As you can see here, b is an integer. When defining variable names for strings, we can use a single quote or a double quote. For example, we can say name equals single quote Amos. Next, we can say name equals double quote Amos. So creating a variable with a single quote and using a double quotation is the same. Variable names are also case sensitive. Over here, name with small letters is different from name with the first letter capitalized. Let's look at the several ways you can name a variable. In Python, you can name variables in so many ways. For example, we can name animal emojis variable this way. Or we can use a snake case to do that. With this way, we place an underscore after the first word. You can also define a variable by placing an underscore before each word, like this. Next, you can also use the camel case method by capitalizing the first letter of the second word. Or if you like, you can use all uppercase. You can also include numbers in variable names. For example, we can add 2 or any number here, but you make sure you don't have the number in front of the word like this. That is not acceptable. In Python, you can assign values to multiple variables in a single line. Let's look at how that works. We can, for example, create a variables RGB. So each variable is separated by a comma. Then we assign them to different values. We can also assign a single value to all the variables we have defined here. So let's copy this one and say each of the variables RGB is 255. Assigning the same value to the multiple variables should be over here. So let's place it here. Next, let's look at how we can extract collection values into variables. Let's create a collection here, fruit emojis. We can now create different variables to unpack these collection values. So let's create the variables cherry. Then we have strawberry. And the last one is grapes. Then we assign them to fruit emojis. So that is how you can extract or unpack collection values into variables. Finally, let's look at how to create global and local variables. in Python. In Python, you can define variables in two ways. You can define them inside a function or outside a function. Variables created outside a function are called global variables, and those created inside a function are local variables. Let's look at how they work. Let's define a variable x here and give it a value of 10. Then we create a function add. Since it is a global variable, we can use it inside here and add it to another number, like this. Let's create another local variable inside the function and call it y, and give it a value of 15, for example. Still inside the function's body, we can print x plus y. This is possible because the global variable x is accessible in the function's body, and also the local variable y is also accessible inside the function's body. If we move the print statement outside the function's body, we are supposed to get an error. You can see the variable y is underlined. We can also specify the local variable y as global so that we can use it outside the function. Since we specified y as global, it now belongs to a global scope, so we can move the print function, the function add, and you can see now we don't get any error. So that is all about creating and using variables here inside Python. We have covered all the fundamentals of variable creation in Python. Thanks for watching this video and wait for the next.